Today I fucked up by accidentally stealing 12 bottles of wine from the supermarket. Happened this morning. I'm not a fan of grocery shopping, it's always crowded and chaotic. Usually I go together with my boyfriend so we can get it over with twice as fast. Now, with the coronavirus, they only allow an X amount of people in the store at the same time and they urge you to do your shopping alone and keep 1.5 meters distance. Decided I'd go by myself this morning. While my boyfriend is off to work, he has an essential job and still has to go every day. Luckily it wasn't too crowded this morning and I could get inside without waiting. Nevertheless, I wanted to go in and out as quickly as possible. Our supermarket has those hand scanners with which you can scan the products yourself, then after scanning you just have to pay and get out. I really like this because it's a lot faster than waiting in line for the cashier. Inside the supermarket I was getting a little stressed as some people were not keeping their distance as they should be, so I started rushing even more. They had a pretty good sale on wine with 50% off, so I decided to take 2 boxes with me, 6 bottles each. Quickly loaded them onto my cart, grabbed the remaining items I needed and quickly went to the pay desk. Since I had some beer and wine, a lady came over to check my age and after that I could pay and go. Once at home I checked the receipt to see if the discount from the wine was calculated correctly, but then I noticed the wine wasn't on the receipt at all. I must have totally forgot to scan it, so I just stole 12 bottles from the supermarket. I just went to the supermarket again to tell them about my mistake. Both because it didn't feel right and because I didn't want them to find out and put me on a blacklist or something as I go there regularly. Cashier had to laugh at my story and could understand my mistake. She was very happy I came by again to pay anyway. Too long didn't read. Due to the coronavirus I rushed my grocery shopping and forgot to scan 2 boxes of wine, thus ended up leaving without paying for them. Went by the supermarket again to pay this afternoon. 2 boxes at 50% off each equals 100% off. Makes sense to me. When I was a little kid there was a corner shop about 3 blocks or so away from my house. The owner, who also ran it, gave me a nickel too much in change for some gum I had bought and I didn't realize it until I had walked home. I walked back and was little enough that 3 blocks was a pretty good distance and I had a lot of time to think. At first I was worried that he'd be mad and think I stole the nickel or something, but the more I thought about it the more I was certain he'd be impressed that I brought it back. By the time I got there I had built the situation up pretty big in my head and really expected him to make a show of my honesty. He just looked at me, took the nickel and walked away without saying anything. A nickel in error for your till isn't a big deal, which is why he probably didn't react. The bigger the reaction a cashier has to you bringing back the extra change, the more likely an error is actually going to cause a problem. I worked for a store where $3 was the limit. My current store is a quarter. A long time ago at a local supermarket I was, for some long forgotten reason, waiting at the customer service desk. A woman with a cart full of wine bottles, pretty much as many boxes as you could fit in a shopping cart, was complaining to the assistant how she didn't get her loyalty points. So the assistant checked the receipt and noticed most of the bottles weren't scanned nor paid for. This was before self-scanning was even a thing, so she probably left the boxes in her cart, handed the cashier one of the bottles and told how many she had, which is an accepted and convenient practice, and likely the cashier misheard, as they tend to talk among each other. So she got very lucky. Anyway, once the assistant mentioned this, our lucky wine lady decided to leave very fast, right in the arms of the friendly store security guard. So moral of the story, sometimes supermarket provide quality entertainment. Tomorrow's today I fucked up. Went back to supermarket and caught COVID-19 high-fiving the cashier. Today I fucked up by being horny on a family road trip. This didn't happen today, it was actually last summer. My family of 5, plus my boyfriend went on a road trip to camp on the beach a few hours away. We have a minivan so that we could all travel together. Overall it was about a 4-day round trip once we got there and stayed a couple days before coming back. Needless to say, my boyfriend and I weren't able to fool around during this time. On the way back my boyfriend and I were sitting in the back of the van. Everyone was ahead of us, so they couldn't see us without turning around. We started started texting some naughty things about what we'd like to do to each other, and I got extremely turned on. This went on for quite a while and progressed into us touching ourselves while we were looking longingly at each other. Needless to say, I was soaked. Of course, since we were driving and my dad is pretty stingy with bathroom breaks, I couldn't exactly clean myself up. My underwear were completely soaked and I had no option but to sit in it until we got home. When we got home, all was good. My BF and I snuck off to have sex and it was great. However, if you are aware of female hygiene practices at all, sitting in a wet bathing suit or underwear is a big no-no. Your lady parts are supposed to stay pretty dry for the most part. For several hours that day, mine did not, and I paid for it by waking up the next day with the absolute worst yeast infection I have ever experienced. It was horrible and took over a week of embarrassing to buy over-the-counter drugs to fix it. Will not be doing that again. DL, doctor got so horny I gave myself a yeast infection. Edit, holy crap guys, that's a lot of upvotes. Thanks for laughing at my pain. Comma smiley face. My dad never pulled over. Literally pissed my pants because I was too scared of him to ask him to stop. Edit, wow. My dad is old now and he's a happier person. There was a lot of racism and tough times back then. He had a tough upbringing and a tough job. I have learned from his mistakes, boom, make my own mistakes I'm sure. This is called evolution imho. That sounds like a seriously unhealthy relationship. I did not know that you could actually get a yeast infection like that. Lol, me neither. I knew you weren't supposed to wear a wet bathing suit for long, but it never occurred to me that my own moisture could be a problem. Thoughtful face. For as long as I remember, I am always wet. If not wet, I'm at the very least moist. Never had a problem with thrush. The infection that you caught was probably from fingering with germy hands. Yeah. Wash your hands, people. I'd give you some gold but I've got no bread. I got flour but no yeast. Has this sub always been filled with young adult softcore porn stories? It's essentially erotic fiction nowadays. Can't wait to hear the story when someone fucks a sparkling vampire. Today I fucked up by offering my penis for lunch at my GF's. My girlfriend and I are from two different neighboring countries. I am from Hungary and she is from Slovakia. We communicate in English, but naturally we have begun slowly learning each other's language. As I learn more and more words and phrases, I like to put what I know already to use and speak to her family in Slovak whenever I can. They speak English as well, so I don't have to do this. When I learned that na obet is their equivalent of for lunch, I was making a lot of stupid jokes by prepending random words that I know to this construct. Mostly made this jokes to her and her sister. However, this one time I saw her mother preparing some seeds for the birds they keep in the living room. Having previously learned that bird is vták in Slovak, I thought this was a perfect opportunity for me to present my knowledge of the language. So I asked her, smiling, obet na vták. Then this genius idea crossed my mind to make a stupid joke. Or vták na obet. My GF's older sister burst out in hysterical laughter, shortly followed by her mother. It would have been good for me to know that vták is also common slang for penis, meaning I have basically inquired if she would like dick for lunch. Her mother and sister periodically remind me of the story by proposing vták for lunch when discussing ideas for the next day. TL, doctor, I showed off my knowledge of my GF's language to her family by proposing we have dicks for lunch. What's with so many languages using birds as slang for dick? We do it with cock in English. And Pekka smile. This reminds me of when I was learning Chinese with my sisters. The pinyin for older brother is gege, which we all said like GG, when the correct pronunciation is gaga-ish. We couldn't understand why our teacher was laughing when we said we had an older brother, but it turns out GG means penis. We, 3 girls, had all said, I have a mum, dad, 2 sisters, and a penis. I speak Chinese since I was a kid and it took 15 years to realize that sounds like a racist word. Nagar. My first tour in Korea, I ordered dick and rice over the phone from a delivery place, while the Korean dudes I was working with laughed their asses off. The person on the phone didn't skip a beat. Probably used to their language being butchered by Americans, unfortunately. And I needed an explanation after because I knew I'd heard the name of this dish pronounced before. Turns out shapkimbap is delicious Korean food, and shaggibap is dick and rice. Turns out shapkimbap is delicious Korean food, and shaggibap is dick and rice. Which, to be fair, might also be delicious Korean food. There are so many common slang words for dick in any given language that it is only a matter of time until you fall for it when using a foreign language. Happens all the time. Fair enough. And it's not only for dick. My GF says she's scared to speak my language to my family because she might just say something like this. "You're such a jokester, stepbrah."